Picture this. It's the start of the year. You're standing in front of leadership presenting your STARS plan. And it's a good one. You have multiple vendors engaged, outreach campaigns scheduled by quarter, member services aligned, care coordination looped in. Every measure has an owner, every owner has a budget, and every slide in that deck says the same thing, that we thought of everything. Leadership approves it because on paper, it's airtight. Now, fast forward to mid-year. The campaigns launched, the vendors deployed, the calls went out, the mailers dropped, and the portal messages were sent out. Activity is everywhere. But when you pull the gap closure report, that's where numbers staring back at you doesn't make sense. A significant portion of your denominator has not moved. Including members you counted as easy, members you were sure the plan already covered. Here's what that report will never show you. Every member in that denominator has a name. Every member also has a reality. One is engaged with her doctor and just needs that one last scheduled step. One wants to close the gap, but can't get a ride across town. And another hasn't answered anything you sent all year. 3 members, 3 realities, but 1 strategy? That's the miss. Not the effort, not the plan, the assumption underneath it. That one strategy, no matter how elaborate, could move them all. Today's briefing is about the question that fixes it. Do you know which members are actually movable? Now, let's sit with that mid-year moment for a second, because the instinct in that moment is almost always wrong. Now, the instinct says, we need more outreach, more vendors, more touches. If members didn't move, the effort must not have been enough. So what do plans do? They double down. They add a second mailer, a third call attempt, another vendor with another platform. And by the 4th quarter, the activity has doubled, the spend has grown, and the closure rate has barely moved. Because effort was never the problem. The problem is a single assumption sitting quietly underneath the entire strategy. That the denominator is one audience. That every member in that measure can be reached the same way, motivated the same way, and moved on the same timeline. They can't. Think back to those 3 members. The one who's engaged with her doctor doesn't need another mailer. She needs 1 scheduled appointment. The one who can't get across town doesn't need a 4th phone call. He needs the barrier removed. And the one who hasn't responded all year, every dollar of that elaborate campaign aimed at him worked exactly as well as no campaign at all. That's a hard pill to swallow. One strategy treated all 3 of them as the same person, so it fully served none of them. This is the step most health plans skip. They go straight from choosing their priority measures to deploying strategies across the whole denominator. And when the movement doesn't turn into closure, they blame the strategy, when they should be questioning the audience it was built for. Segmentation is not another campaign. It's the step before every campaign. It's how you find out who your denominator actually is before you decide what you're going to do about it. If you've been with this series from the beginning, you know we've been building something in order, deliberately. And if you missed the first 2 episodes, no worries, go back and watch the replays. I will put the link in the chat. because everything today builds on them. So episode 1 asks one question. Do you know what your opportunity is worth? We attached a real dollar figure to every STARS measure. Quality bonus payment exposure, measure by measure, because you cannot prioritize what you have not financially quantified. Episode 2 took that foundation and forced a harder conversation. The hardest part of a strategy is not execution, it's decision. You cannot fight for everything. And the prioritization matrix gave you a disciplined way to decide what to fight for. And it gave you a standard for that question. Not convenient, defensible. Convenient, it survives the question, yes, but defensible, it settles it. So by the end of episode 2, you knew what every measure was worth, and you knew which measures deserve your resources. That's real progress. Hey, most plans never get that far. But here's what the prioritization matrix was never designed to tell you. It can tell you what measures is worth fighting for, but it cannot tell you which members inside that measure can actually be moved. The matrix hands you a prioritized measure, and inside that measure is still a denominator full of very different people. Our 3 members from the open, they could all sit in the same denominator, in the same priority measure, on the same report. Today, we go inside the denominator. Because knowing a measure is worth the fight, well, that is the strategy. But knowing which members inside it can actually move is where the fight gets won. So where does that leave you? Because here's the thing. You already have the execution engine. Your vendors, they are very well capable. Your outreach teams are working. Your member services line is staffed. Execution is not what's missing. What's missing is the layer that sits directly above all of it. The layer that decides before a single campaign launches who each strategy is actually for. Now, think of it this way. Your priority measures tell you where to fight. Your vendors and internal teams are how to fight. But between those two sits a decision nobody assigned. Who inside the denominator are we deploying against? You skip that question, and every strategy defaults to everyone. And we already know how that ends. We're not going back. Make that decision, and everything downstream changes. The same vendors, the same teams, the same budget, all aimed differently, closing faster. That deciding layer is what Denominator intelligence was built to be, not another outreach vendor. The intelligence that tells your existing engine exactly where to aim. And the first thing that layer has to answer is the question this whole briefing is built on. Which members are actually movable? That answer starts with segmentation. So let's answer the question, which members are actually movable? Inside Denominator intelligence, this is the job of opportunity segmentation. You select a priority measure, and instead of one denominator, one number, or one undifferentiated list, the platform shows you 3 distinct populations, 3 segments, each with its own reality and each demanding its own play. Now, let me walk you through them. And as I do, keep our 3 members from the open in mind, because you've already met one member from each segment. The first segment, ready to close. Now, these are your engaged members. They're seeing their PCP. They're picking up their prescriptions and staying current on the medications. They are already in relationship with their care, and yet they still may have a gap or two open. Remember our first member? Engage with her doctor, she just needs that last step scheduled. Well, that's ready to close. The gap isn't open because she's resistant. It's open because nobody has connected that last dot. Here's why this segment matters so much. These are your fastest closures and your lowest cost per closure. And here's the uncomfortable part. In that blanket model that we've been doing for years, these members receive the same heavy campaign as everyone else. You're spending acquisition level effort on members who needed a scheduling call. The platform shows you exactly who they are. So your quickest wins get your lightest touch. The second segment, blocked. These members are willing. That's what makes this segment different, and honestly, what makes it the most overlooked. The willingness is already there. Something is standing between them and their care. A ride that they can't get, an appointment that never has an opening on the days they can make it, a cost they're not sure they can cover, or a form they simply don't understand. That's our second member. So he doesn't need a fourth phone call telling him that the gap exists. He already knows it exists. He needs the barrier removed. And this is where blanket strategy fails most expensively. Every touch aimed at a blocked member that doesn't address the barrier is a wasted touch. You can contact him 12 times, and if the ride still isn't there, the gap is still open. The platform separates these members out so your intervention dollars goes toward the barriers, not repeating reminders. The third segment, out of reach. These are the members who have not responded, not to mailers, not to calls, not to the portal. Some have contact information that's gone cold, and some have disengaged from the system entirely. Some may need community level connection before plan level outreach means anything. So our third member, the one where every dollar of that elaborate campaign performed exactly like no campaign at all. Now, here's the discipline this segment demands, and it's the hardest one for leaders to hear. Out of reach does not mean give up. It means stop spending your standard playbooks here and expecting standard results. These members, they need a different investment on a different timeline. And some of them this quarter are not even movable. Knowing that is not a failure, but knowing that is the whole point, because every dollar you stop spending on outreach that cannot land is a dollar available to a barrier you can actually move. Let that sink in. 3 segments, 1 denominator. Same measure, same report, 3 completely different plays. A scheduling assist for ready to close, barrier removal for those who are blocked, and a longer horizon re-engagement approach for those who are out of reach. And notice what just happened to your strategy conversation. It's no longer what's our campaign for this measure. It's what's our play for each segment of this measure. Same vendors, same team, same budget, aimed at 3 realities instead of average across 1 illusion. That is what it means to know which members are actually movable. Not a guess, not an assumption buried under a blanket campaign. A segmented view of your denominator on screen before the first dollar deploys. Now, let's go back to where it started. The same plan, same leader, but this time, segmentation happened before deployment. It's mid-year again. The gap closure report comes out, and this time, when leadership asks about the gaps, the answer sounds different. It's no longer, we deployed everything and we're still investigating why closures are behind. It's this. 40% of this denominator was ready to close. We aimed our lightest, fastest play there, and most of those gaps are already closed. 35% was blocked. We identified the barriers. Transportation was the biggest one, and we redirected vendor spend toward removing it. Those closures are climbing every month. The remaining 25% is out of reach. We stopped burning campaign dollars there, and we started a longer horizon re-engagement effort with realistic expectation attached. Did you hear that? 3 segments, 3 plays, 1 defensible answer. Notice what that leader is no longer doing. No longer defending activity count. No longer promising more touches. No longer explaining why an elaborate plan produced an average result. And notice what the members experienced. The engaged member got her appointment scheduled, not 5 redundant mailers. The blocked member, he got a ride, not a 4th reminder call. Every member has a name, every member has a reality, and for the first time, the strategy knows the difference. That is the shift. Not more effort, not more vendors. The same engine you already have, aimed by intelligence instead of assumptions. So let's bring it on home. Episode 1 taught you to put a dollar figure on every measure. Episode 2, it taught you to decide which measures deserve the fight. And today, we went inside the denominator because a prioritized measure is still a population. And populations don't move as one. You cannot close every gap, but you can close the right ones first. And the right ones are not a mystery. They're sitting in your denominator right now, ready to close members waiting on a scheduling call. Block members waiting on a barrier to fall, and out of reach members are waiting on a different approach entirely. The question was never whether they exist. The question is whether your strategy knows the difference. One strategy will not move them all, but 3 plays aimed at 3 realities will move more than any blanket strategy ever has. So if you're ready to see your own denominator in this way, there are 3 paths forward. Path 1, subscribe to the platform. Plain and simple. If today made the case, denominator intelligence is ready when you are. Path 2, you can start a free trial. Get inside the platform and see it for yourself on your own time at your own pace. And path 3, you can schedule a 1-hour demo with moi. We'll walk through the platform together and you can bring your hardest questions. I'd rather you ask them than assume the answer. So whichever path fits how you make decisions, take one. Your denominator already has 3 segments in it today. The only question is whether you can see them. Now, in our next briefing, we take the natural next step. Once you know which members are movable and which are blocked, the obvious question becomes, blocked by what? Next episode, we go deeper into the barriers themselves. What's standing between willing members and closed gaps, and how you turn barrier intelligence into intervention strategy. So until then, remember this. Precision is not a one-time effort. It is a posture. Until next time, bye guys.